Hey, friends! This time, I thought we'd tackle a sci-fi actioner that's a good example of what happens when interesting ideas simply don't add up beyond the sum of their parts. We have action, sci-fi, evil corporations, and time travel all blended up in a mixmaster. That's right, we're talking about Freejack, a sci-fi film from 1992. This picture is based on a classic sci-fi novel from 1959 called Immortality Incorporated by Robert Sheckley. Our story goes like this. In the present day of 1991 or so, race car driver Alex Furlong is preparing for race day, and he and his fiancée Julie head for the track. Meanwhile, in the far-flung future of 2009, there's this crappy dystopian society where a mega corporation has taken over. Most of the population live in poverty, while high society dudes live in comfort. This crappy future has awesome technology, though, and can snatch people from the past for a very sinister purpose. Alex is one of their targets. See, he's going to get in a big car crash, of course he doesn't know that yet, and they transport him away just in the nick of time to 2009. Here, his brain will be wiped and a rich corporate dude will have his mind inserted into Alex's empty brain. But Alex gets away and becomes a Freejack. He tries to figure out what happened and find help, along with trying to find his sexy chick fiancée, all the while being pursued by a team of corporate bonejacks, a sort of goon squad run by Mick Jagger. Can Alex escape? Will his sexy chick still go for him? Will Evil Corp win? This movie, I gotta say, this thing is strangely flat. It isn't a bad watch, exactly, and there are things to like in the picture, but that weird flatness keeps the movie from becoming all that it could have been, and it definitely feels more like a movie from the early to mid-1980s than the 1990s. After watching this picture, I was left with a boatload of questions. People are snatched from the past, have their memories wiped, and then rich dudes transfer their consciousness into them and take over. Now, they've got a young, healthy new body and everything. Sounds good for the rich dudes, but it's basically slavery, which this future society is cool with, I guess. The future dudes seem to target accident victims, like we saw in Millennium. But unlike that movie, they leave nothing in place of the victim, so there are no remains. The victim just disappears. So why not just target a guy sitting on the bog? Wouldn't that be easier? It'd be stationary anyway. But this process means every now and then, one of the people from the past escapes. Somehow. Apparently, this happens all the time. So much so, they even have a term for it. Freejack. And they have teams of bonejacks to hunt down the Freejacks. But why let them escape at all? Doesn't look like the bad guys learn anything each time a Freejack gets away. How about some better security? Freejack is a term everyone in this crappy society knows, which means they know about the tech and how it's being used. It's not a secret. People know this is going on, and this slavery thing is never really dealt with. It's just left up in the air whether the practice ends or not. Also, they're able to take a person out of time and transport them to the future, but they never say if they can reverse the process. Can they send someone back in time? Never mentioned. And the world we see just doesn't make much sense. This level of societal breakdown and decay, and the bombed-out cityscape, the takeover by these corporate guys, all of that would likely take longer than 10 years. Plus, the tech is incredibly advanced for the world this is set in. Not just the time travel setup, but the whole consciousness replacement thing. The doctors who perform the process are depicted as being some kind of religious order or techno-mages or something. Interesting, but they never go into that very much. And while most people use regular guns, apparently the police have laser guns, I guess. Something far in advance of a mere 10 years, and yet graphics and displays are ho-hum, not much to get excited about, even by 1992 standards. We see these weird futuristic cars and old cars, but nothing in between. A common mistake in movies like this. The level of tech would have made sense if the movie were set 30 or 40 years in the future, but 10? Nah, not buying it. Especially since we're a decade plus past 2009 today. But then Russo would have been an old hag if they set it 40 or 50 years on, not still sexy, so they set the story only 10 years into the future. In our cast, we have Emilio Estevez as our race car driving hero, Alex. Rene Russo is the sexy chick fiancée, Julie. Anthony Hopkins plays the mega corporation boss. Jonathan Banks plays a corporate henchman trying to take over. A very familiar face. He was in Buckaroo Banzai, Gremlins, the Wise Guy TV series, just tons of stuff. This hobo was played by Frankie Faison, who appeared in True Colors and The Wire, among many other things. Amanda Plummer plays this gun-toting nun who helps Alex. She was Honey Bunny in Pulp Fiction. Yeah, that's right, that's her. And hey, we've got Buster Poindexter and John Shea. Yeah, it's always nice to see John Shea. And, of course, Mick Jagger is here as the head bonejack, Victor. He brings a suitable degree of menace, and honestly, he's the most interesting character to watch. Jagger said he took the role on a whim, and if he had taken more time to think it over, he would have turned it down. Director Geoff Murphy wasn't exactly prolific, but he did helm Young Guns 2, Under Siege 2, The Quiet Earth. He also worked as a second unit director on Dante's Peak and on all 3 installments of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. But on this one, after a disastrous test screening, another director was brought in for extensive reshoots. Gotta say, I think a remake of this would be interesting with the special effects we have now. But they'd have to fix all of the glaring errors in the time scale and that flatness in order to make it work. I'm giving Freejack, 1 3/4 paws, I guess. The movie does have a sort of cachet. It's interesting, the idea anyway. The action scenes are mostly alright. Jagger is the most interesting character, of course. True, this one's a bit by the numbers, a bit old hat, and very, very flat, full of things that leave nagging questions left unanswered. Even so, Freejack is still oceans better and has a much higher quality in both its acting and production values than Star Trek Discovery. Okay, that's not saying very much, but anyway, you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.